My article looks at Carlow's contribution to the Crusades in the Holy Land, 1095 to 1291, mostly to the military orders of the Knights Templar and Knights Hospitaller in Carlow. The Crusades were a series of military expeditions to the Holy Land to reclaim Muslim-controlled Jerusalem in the name of Christianity. There is no mention of the First Crusade in Irish documents, and only one vague reference to the Second Crusade in 1147 in the Annals of Tigernach. It's by the Third Crusade that we start to get evidence of a Carlow connection to the Crusades, with the arrival of the Knights Hospitaller and the Knights Templar in Ireland. The Hospitallers were founded in Jerusalem sometime around 1099 to care for the poor, the sick, and pilgrims in the Holy Land. They became militarized around the 1120s. The Knights Templar were founded in the early 12th century to protect pilgrims traveling on the road to Jerusalem. Here is a map of the locations of the military orders in Ireland, with the Hospitallers in black and the Templars in red. When exactly the military orders arrived in Carlow is hazy. What we know about the Templars in Carlow comes entirely from 14th century records of the trial and suppression of the order. These list 3 properties: at Kilton, which is now in Paristown in Kilkenny, Rathnagira near Fenna, and Rathornan north of Loughlin Bridge. We only had the name of one Templar from Carlow named Robert, who was the preceptor of Rathornan, who was arrested in 1308, but we know nothing else about him. Court records, or the justiciary rolls for Ireland, are the best place to find out about individual houses. Carlow Templars do not appear in these court records. Presumably they didn't come into conflict with their neighbours. We have a greater range of knowledge about the Hospitaller Priory in Killerick in North Carlow, largely through court cases. They most likely arrived at Killerick around 1210, when their nearby house in Castledermot was founded. In 1212, Killerick was listed among the order's 129 properties in Ireland. By 1216, the Hospitallers in Killerick were very well settled into the area and had become involved in a dispute with the Abbey of St. Thomas in Dublin concerning land in Strabo near Killerick. We have some names of Carlow Hospitallers. We know that William le Bailiff was the master of Killerick in 1290, and a brother Hughes was named in around 1300 even. In a high-profile case in 1262, Robert Elias de Killerick defended the rights to a church in Kildare against the forces belonging to the Archbishop of Dublin. This particular case ended when the Pope sided with the Hospitallers over the rights of the church. The military orders raised funds for the defence of the Holy Land and the care of pilgrims through farming in Western Europe. The Irish Templars were so prevalent in growing wheat that in 1225, the master gained permission to sell wheat anywhere in Ireland. At the time of their arrest in 1308, the Templars in Rathornan had sown 50 acres of corn and had cut corn, wheat, barley ready for sale. Their livestock included cattle, oxen, pigs, and sheep. The orders also rented out lands. The Templars largely had Gaelic Irish tenants, while the Hospitallers preferred Anglo-Norman ones. In sum, the Carlow estates successfully offered profits for the Crusades. Here is just a list of the Crusades and their dates, so you can follow along and I don't have to trip over the dates all the time. Outside of the military orders, Carlow people could contribute to the Crusades through donations. In 1199, Pope Innocent III called for fundraising in Ireland for another crusade after the Third Crusade failed to recapture Jerusalem. Carlow people could donate through special collections at churches. These donations were then stored in St. Thomas in Dublin. There was a far greater effort to preach the Fifth Crusade in Ireland, with papal letters sent to various archbishops and kings to preach the crusade and collect money. Despite this being mainly a German crusade, Irish men were found fighting under Frederick II in 1220. The Barons' Crusade was one of the most successful crusades after the First Crusade in terms of territorial gains. For the people of Carlow, Their participation came in the form of money once again. In 1238, several Knights Templar were captured during the battle in Antioch. Templar houses in Ireland, including Carlow, began fundraising campaigns to pay the ransom to free these captured Templars. The Seventh Crusade, led by King Louis IX of France, received a lot of publicity in Ireland. It is known that in November 1251, a number of Leinster men, likely some from Carlow, took Crusader vows. The Seventh Crusade took a serious financial toll on the Templars in the Holy Land. They sought aid from English and Irish Templars in 1259. The desperation can be seen in 1260 when the Templars in England and Ireland asked their tenants to give goods and other possessions to send to the Templars in the Holy Land. It's interesting to consider what items the Carlow tenants may have contributed in the hope of helping pay off the mounting debts of the Templars in the Holy Land. After the fall of Acre in 1291, fundraising for the Crusades continued in Ireland until the early 1300s. However, the connection between Carlow and the Crusades ended in 1303, when the Templars had to free Ruad, the last trace of Crusader activities in the Holy Land. Whether anyone from Carlow ever set foot in the Holy Land as part of the Crusades is difficult to answer. Carlow lands, however, provided the Templars and the Hospitallers with a perfect ground to sow crops and gain profits from rents, which greatly aided in funding castle building, army equipment, and the care of pilgrims in the Holy Land. The people of Carlow could donate money and other possessions to support the order and to answer the calls from popes for fundraising. Public masses and crusade funding events connected the people of Carlow to events taking place thousands of miles away from the fields of Carlow. The origins of this article lie in some of my previous research. My master's dissertation explored the Knights Templar in Ireland, while my PhD thesis addressed how the Knights Templar and Knights Hospitaller cared for pilgrims in the Holy Land during the Crusades. The care of pilgrims and the defence of Crusader Holy Land were extremely expensive activities. While donations from royalty and nobility counted towards a sizable portion of the expenses, most of the money came from estates belonging to the military orders in Western Europe, Ireland being one of the most profitable of their land holdings. And so this article about Carlow's contribution to the Crusade was born. In terms of how I went about researching and writing this, I suppose I was familiar with a lot of the sources from previous research, so I had a fair idea of where to look. I mostly used royal administrative documents, such as calendar of documents relating to Ireland, the calendar of patent rolls, charter rolls, closed rolls. I also used some papal documents and legal documents, like the justiciar rolls. Some are in Latin, though quite a few are now digitized and translated into English. You'll find some of these on sites like irishmanuscripts.ie and UCC's Celt website. Archive.org has a lot of English administrative documents and the justiciar rolls, where you're most likely to find information about the military orders. I'm happy to send on PDFs if anyone would like any of these if you have trouble getting them on the internet. Thank you.